welcome to your hips practice today. So we're going to start on our bellies. And you can always use a pillow if you would like underneath either of your cheeks or your forehead. Just make sure your feet come out just a little bit wider than hip width distance, and that your hands can cradle your head, so whether that's placed underneath a cheek or underneath your third eye center. If you need a little movement to just wiggle in, you can always shift your hips side to side, or you can windshield washer your feet a couple of times. But there's something really grounding about just being on your front side and allowing your breath to press into the ground. Feeling the back of your body gently rise up as you breathe in, and then sinking your whole weight down as you breathe out. Notice if there's a little bit extra space within your breath, room to take an extra sip of air, room to linger in the exhale or the pause before that next breath. Today's practice is about the hips, but also about finding grace. And that grace is just as important how we walk up the mountain as how we walk back down it. So not just when everything is going smoothly, but also when things are feeling challenging, hard, overwhelming, hurtful, when things are feeling maybe not exciting or just like work. To still have the grace to just navigate through breath by breath. Gently bring your chin to your mat and then start to walk your elbows in so that they land about underneath your shoulders. Sphinx Pose. Now if this feels like there's any pinching in the low back, just slide your fingertips a little further forward. You can let your head hang heavy. Sometimes I like to take little movements here, so if it feels good for your head or muscles of your neck, you can always take your ears to either shoulder. Just kind of letting your head dangle and sway side to side. And then gently walk your elbows out wide again and lower down. Bring your left cheek to your mat or left cheek onto your left hand. Bend into your right knee and then reach your right hand back for the top of your foot. If you can't quite reach the top of your foot, you can always take a strap or something like a towel, wrap it around your foot, and then just grab the end of the towel. And then you're welcome to just play with bending into your elbow and drawing your heel in towards your body. As you inhale, you might even press your foot into your hand. And then as you exhale, just relax completely. Like tuning into that gentle ebb and flow of the breath. Let's take one more round of your inhale and exhale. And then you can gently release the top of that foot all the way to the ground. And slide your right knee out to the side. So your big toe edge comes towards the earth. Sleeping frog. If you want to add in a twist to this variation, you're also welcome to just peel your upper body slightly away from the mat, enough that you can slide your left shoulder underneath. If you are taking this twist with left shoulder and left cheek towards the ground, I actually find it's nice to have a pillow underneath that left cheek to just keep some length into the side of the cervical spine. Allow your right hip to drop heavy towards the earth. So really tapping into this feeling of full surrender. And then if you have threaded your arm underneath, you can gently unthread it and slide your right toes to meet your left. Let's stay on our bellies for the other side. So bring your right cheek either onto a pillow or onto your hand. Bend into your left knee and reach your left hand back to grab a hold of the top of the foot. So you're gonna be opening up into the quadriceps, the front line of the body. And if you want to flow with the breath, it's really, really subtle. As you inhale, just pressing your foot in towards your hand, tapping into some of that effort. And as you exhale, softening, relaxing. One more big, slow breath in and out. Gently release the grip of your foot. Slide your left knee out to the side for sleeping frog on the other side. Left cheek can come down towards your mat, or optional, slide your right cheek, right shoulder, or right hand underneath your body. If you are in this twist, just make sure that your shoulder is sliding away from your ear. And if you notice yourself trying to hold up against sinking down, see if you can let that go. Trust yourself to be caught by the ground beneath you. Gently unwind if you took the twisted variation. Slide your left toes down to meet your right, chin to your mat. Press your hands beside your shoulders and slowly peel away from the earth. Okay, we're gonna come back to a child's pose. So walk your knees wide, big toes to touch. And start to feel the expansion into your low back. Now you can make this as active or passive as you'd like. So if you're making it active, reaching through the fingertips, pressing and gripping down into the earth. If it's a little more passive, you might just have a soft bend into your elbows or even drape over a prop like a bolster. You feel your breath travel all the way down with the inhale and expand out to the sides of the hips. And then as you exhale, a gentle rinse along your spine. A little bit of lateral flexion. Walk your fingertips over to the right. Hands can be separate. You can always plant your left hand over top of your right. And just feeling a bit more of that opening into the left side body. And then gently walk all the way through center and find the other side. Bring your hands into the middle of your mat and slowly peel up towards tabletop. So walk your knees underneath your hips. Okay. Tuck your toes under and start to walk your hands back towards your heels. So you're sitting your hips onto your heels. Okay. Now, if this is uncomfortable, you can always take hips above knees, hands to low back, and take a modified camel variation. You just pull your elbows back and lift through the chest. Otherwise, with hips on heels, you can start to walk your hands back and just play with leaning back. So really opening into that front line of the body. And walk your fingertips forward and hands plant either in front or beside your knees, whatever's more accessible. Pick up your hips and fold over top of bent knees. I'm just gonna flow through that a couple of times. So taking those cat-cow movements into the whole body. Pick up your heels, lower your knees to your mat. Okay. And either modified camel or walk your hands back and just lean into your hands. Maybe even tilt the chin up. Okay. And walk your hands forward, press into your palms, rise your hips and fold. Okay. And continue. Let's take 3 more rounds of this breath and movement. I like to take the inhales where you open up the heart, and then the exhales to just ground you, to connect you to the earth. And then inhales where you pick up the hips as well. It's kind of that lengthening and expansion. It's this beautiful oscillating between the two. So last round, we're gonna meet into our fold. So next time that you press your hips up to the sky, melt your heels to the earth and walk your hands back towards your toes to just drape your upper body. Okay. Hands can connect to opposite elbow or just dangle. You may even find that gentle sway of the body, shifting forward and back and side to side, and how that significantly changes the sensation in the backs of our legs. And gently release the grip of your fingertips. Take a deep bend into your knees and slowly roll up your spine, vertebra by vertebra, until you come up to standing. You roll out your shoulders, allow them to melt down your back, palms face forward. Okay. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Feel like you're growing a little bit taller. And then exhale, just root your feet into your mat. Feeling into that steadiness of self. Inhale, breath to expand. And exhale, feel your fingertips drop towards the ground. Okay, so connected. One more breath in stillness. Okay. Inhale, circle the arms overhead. Exhale to forward fold and let that go. Inhale, breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Walk your fingertips forward to downward facing dog. Okay, so you might have to reset your stance. You can always make it shorter, wider. Soft bend into your backs of your knees. And feel like your tailbone is tilting up towards the sky. Beautiful. Walk your big toes together to touch. As you inhale, sweep your right foot high to the sky and then bend into your right knee. Start to stack open your hips. As you exhale, step your right foot towards the top of your mat and lower your back knee down. So what I find with grace is it really comes in those moments where we allow ourselves to be free. And so in this movement, you can really choose whatever is serving you. So we're gonna stay in a flow, Monkey lunge is your first pose, so exactly where you are. And then you're moving your hips back to half splits. Now you can keep your hands on blocks or on the ground. You can move one breath at a time, or you can take 2 breaths for each pose. But you're just gonna move forward and back. This feels like a lot for the knee that's connected to the ground. Just take a pillow underneath it. And additionally, you can always start to play with floating hands overhead, taking this movement into other areas of the body. Or maybe just starting to work through some of that stuckness. Okay, so it's not always going to feel graceful, but you're just taking it one breath at a time. Okay. Let's take one more round of breath and movement. And then the next time that you move forward in towards your monkey lunge, tuck your back toes to lift your back knee. Okay. Turn and pivot all 10 toes towards the side of the mat. And if this feels like it's pulling on your right knee, just heel toe that foot more into the center of your mat. Okay. Both hands can stay down, especially if this is a lot for the wrists, or optional, take your right hand up and then start to peel right fingertips to the top of your mat. Okay. Start a variation of modified plank. Full breath in. As you exhale, lower your left hip towards a hover, and then right hand reaches back behind you. Gaze can always follow. Inhale, breath, lift the hips up, sweep your right fingertips over to the front, and exhale, lower the hips. Right hand can reach back. Let's take 2 more rounds of this movement. Really focusing on how do breath and your body move together. Okay. The next time that you pick up your hips, turn and pivot all 10 toes towards the top of your mat. Lower your back knee down again, and then turn your left toes to the right side of your mat. So left toes are gonna point out to the long edge. Okay. This is gonna get you right into the inner thigh. So you're in this shape, and then walk your hands over to the top left corner of your mat and just play with sinking your hips back. Okay, so that front leg might straighten out a bit. It can stay quite bent. The degree of depth is up to you. Okay. But this pose can bring out a lot of sensation in the body. So just allowing yourself the space to breathe through it. So grace can also just be found in the breath. So while our body might not necessarily feel super graceful, if we allow our breath the room to just flow naturally, that's one way that we can call in grace. Gently walk your hands back through center, and you can turn your left toes to the back of your mat. Lift your back knee, 3-legged dog, sweep your right foot all the way up. Bend into your right knee once again. And this time we're just coming into a pose for a couple of breaths. Bring your right knee to your right wrist, right ankle to the left side of your mat for pigeon. Lower your left knee down and then untuck your toes. Okay. So instead of folding, we're just gonna find movement. Walk your hands up towards your hips. You're in an upright variation. Full breath in. Exhale, start to lower down. Okay. Inhale, breath, press into your fingertips, rise back up. So you're moving like a wave. Exhale, lower belly, then heart, then head. Okay, let's take one more round of that breath and movement. When you come up to your upright pigeon, roll over towards your right hip. Yeah, I'm going to show you from here. So you're going to roll over towards your right hip and then roll onto your seat. So the sole of your right foot's going to come into the inside of your left leg. Beautiful. All right. Inhale, breath, sweep your arms all the way up. Exhale, take your left hand onto your right thigh. Inhale, breath, reach up a little bit taller. And then as you exhale, just start to pour over. Okay. So this bind that you have of your left hand with your right leg will actually help to root that hip down and take this lateral flexion, not just through the rib cage, but all the way down to the muscles that connect into the hips. If this is a lot for your right arm, you can always take your right hand onto your hip as well. Beautiful. Use your inhale breath, come all the way back up. Turn and square your shoulders so that you're now facing your extended leg. As you inhale, reach your fingertips up. As you exhale, just start to hinge and fold. I always like to fold belly, then heart, then head. Allowing your heart to be one of the your heart to move you forward. So head to be one of the last things to kind of guide you somewhere, because we always tend to lead with our heads. And so to just allow your heart to guide you. Notice if you're fighting this pose, is there anywhere that you can bring in softness? Walk your hands up alongside your leg until you come up to seated. Okay. Rock star pose. Plant your right hand beside your right hip. As you inhale, lift up onto your shin and then sweep your left fingertips over. Okay. Beautiful. So squeeze your glutes, press your hips out in front of you, and you can even start to travel your hand back or swivel your heart open towards the sky. Let's flow between those last two poses. Gently make your way onto your seat and then use your exhale to fold over top of your leg. Inhale, breath brings you into your rock star. Clench your right hand, lift up onto your shin. Start to crack the heart wide open. And then exhale, breath to land into your fold. So find your own rhythm. If there's a little bit of stickiness, you can always take longer just to transition through whatever those barriers of resistance are this morning. So we'll meet into Rock Star the next time that you lift up. And from Rock Star, gently turn towards the top of your mat. Take your left hand down towards the ground and then press back into a downward facing dog. So you can pedal out your feet and bend into one knee at a time. Okay. Walk your big toes together to touch. Use your inhale breath, take your left foot high and then bend into your left knee, stack into your hip. As you exhale, step towards the top of your mat, lower your right knee down. Okay. Move at your own pace from monkey lunge to half splits. Okay. And you can even start to add in those cat-cow movements of the spine where you send the heart forward, belly presses out, and then the front line contracts as you curl and round through the back. Feel free to get curious and creative with this movement. With grace, there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer, but as you just start to explore, trying something out, seeing if it lands with you. All right, let's take one more round of movement, just flushing out some of those barriers. Once you come into your monkey lunge, press into your hands, pick up your back knee, and then turn and pivot all 10 toes to the left side of your mat. So you'll land on pinky side edge of your extended leg and full foot of your bent leg. Optional, take your left hand up to the sky on an inhale, and then reach your left fingertips over to the top of your mat as you exhale. Take a full breath in, maybe lift the hips up higher, Exhale, lower your hips to a hover. Take your left hand back. Inhale, breath, lift your hips up and over. And exhale to lower. 2 more rounds of this graceful movement. Then the next time that you come all the way up, turn and pivot your toes to the top of your mat. 3-legged dog. Scoop your left foot back behind you. Bend into your left knee, stack into your hip. As you exhale, bring your left knee to your left wrist, left ankle to the right side of your mat. Lower your right knee down and tuck your toes. So you start to walk your hands up, just closer in towards your shin for a moment. And then imagine that you are being led by your heart. So full breath in. As you exhale, let your heart start to move down first, and then head will come last. And then inhale, slowly roll back up, and exhale to lower. So one more round of this wave-like quality of movement. And when you come up the next time, you'll roll over onto your seat and meet in half butterfly. So the sole of your left foot now connects to the inside of your right leg. Use your inhale breath, circle the arms overhead. Exhale, take your right hand onto your left knee or thigh. Inhale, reach up with your left fingertips. As you exhale, just start to pour over slightly. So it's not as deep as maybe you normally go, but the sensation might be a little bit different. So sometimes when we're just fighting what we think we know, or we're fighting to get somewhere through whatever way we've tried a million times, it's just not working. There's something to be said with just trying something different. Allowing yourself to be open to possibility. Maybe open to just letting go of knowing the answer and just creatively exploring, what does this look like in this moment? On your next inhale, you can gently lift back up through center and then turn and square your shoulders to face your extended leg. Inhale, breath, reach the fingertips up, finding that length in the spine again. And then exhale, start to hinge and fold. If you like that rising and falling movement, know that you can always take it in these poses, especially folds, where you lift up slightly and then lower. Maybe instead of trying to get anywhere, you offer yourself the room to just be in this present moment. There will always be endless grace for you to access when you slow down. Walk your hands all the way back up and towards your body, and setting up for rock star. Left hand plants beside your hip. Press into your hand and your left shin. Okay, right foot plants, and then reach your right fingertips over. So different variation of modified plank with the shin down. But then you can start to open this up into the heart, tracing your right fingertips back behind you, squeezing into your glutes. And then as you exhale, gently make your way down and fold. On your own timing, your own rhythm, just start to flow between these two poses. And if you need extra space or time in one of these shapes, you're so welcome to take it. You can imagine that your body is like a giant pool of water. And that resistance that you're facing is like the edges of the rocks containing the water. And so it doesn't happen all at once, but just over time, the water starts to chip away at that resistance. Okay. And then after hundreds of years, it creates this whole new beautiful formation. So the next time that you come into your modified plank or your rock star, gently release your right hand to the earth, tuck your right toes, and then step your left foot back, and we'll meet into full downward facing dog. Beautiful. Looking forward, step your way towards the top of your mat. Inhale, breath, 2 halfway lift and lengthen. And exhale, 2 fold. Bend into your knees. Inhale, breath, circle the arms overhead. And exhale, hands land at heart center. Okay, start to bring your weight into your right foot. Okay. Bend into your left knee and bring your heel in towards your glute. So left hand's gonna come back and catch the top of your foot. Okay. Now the goal isn't necessarily to come into dancer's pose, but really just to open the quads. So make sure your palm faces out. That's gonna open your shoulder. So you have the big toe edge of your foot. And then you can just simply play with kicking your foot into your hand like you did on your belly and staying upright. Or once you start to kick enough that your heel lifts away, you'll actually feel your body hinge forward. And you're always welcome to take any variation of that right arm. So it doesn't have to be a really huge back bend. You're just looking for that opening in the front line. And don't worry if you fall out, that's totally okay. We'll take one more big breath wherever you are. Okay. And then gently, you'll come all the way back up. Place your left foot to the ground. Okay, hands to heart center. Now pick up your right knee. Cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Okay, so we've been here before this week. Standing in figure 4, you can start to sink your hips back. And this is gonna bring some opening now into that right glute. Optional, take hands down onto blocks or the ground. A totally different sensation than where you just were. See if you can allow your breath to settle into a steady rhythm, especially in balancing poses. And then you're gonna slowly bring your hands back up to heart center, stand tall, okay? And then cross your right foot over top of your left. So you end up with crisscross legs. Inhale, breath, sweep your arms overhead. Grab a hold of your left wrist with your right hand. And then as you exhale, just start to lean over. So you'll stay in standing. I just get cut off on video and I stand up on this one. So you should feel that little bit into that left hip. Beautiful. Inhale, breath, come all the way back up through center. As you exhale, fold over top of your crisscross legs. Okay, nice. Now you can take a deep bend into your right knee. That sometimes will help to get you into the left hip. Optional, walk your fingertips all the way over to the right and kick your hips out to the left. Walk your fingertips all the way back through center and then step your left toes to meet your right. Inhale, breath, 2 halfway lift and lengthen, and exhale to fold. Bend into your knees, inhale, breath, sweep your arms all the way up, and exhale, lend your hands through heart center. Other side, start to take your weight into your left foot and bend your right heel in towards your glutes. Right hand can wrap the top of the foot, but then just make sure that your palm face is out. So you have a hold of that big toe edge. You can play with just kicking your foot into your hand and staying upright in this quadricep opener. Or you're welcome, if you're feeling full dancers, to start to kick into your hand and hinge forward. Keep your hips square, especially if you're coming to dancers. We tend to open up the hips out to the right, so feel like you lower your right hip towards the ground. And then steadily come all the way back up to standing. Release your right foot down. Pick up your left knee. Cross your left ankle over top of your right thigh. Beautiful. And we're gonna open up into that left hip so you can start to hinge forward, sit your hips back. This portion of the practice really requires a lot of focus, but not that you have to be static and combined, that you're allowed to kind of breathe and move with these balancing poses. So you're not stuck as one entity, but of all these millions of moving parts that are working together to gracefully bring you through this moment. You soften your shoulders, let go of any gripping of your jaw. Sometimes this next part is the hardest. I always find coming out of this challenging. So really root yourself with your gaze. You can bring your hands back up to heart center, slowly stand tall, and then just simply cross your left foot to the earth in front of your right. Inhale, breath, circle the arms overhead. Left hand will grab a hold of your right wrist. Inhale, breath, reach up, and exhale, pour over. Center your hips a little bit more out to the right to really get into that lateral side body. And then inhale, breath, come all the way back up through center. Exhale, fold over top of your crisscross legs. I find with this variation, it can just be nice to bend into that front knee. Sometimes that's enough to get into the right hip. If you're looking for a little bit more, maybe you walk fingertips to the left side of your mat and kick your right hip out. Take 3 deep breaths. You just allow yourself to ebb and flow, oscillating between the contraction and the expansion. Gently walk your fingertips all the way back through center. Step your right toes to meet your left. Okay. Inhale, breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold, plant your hands, step your right toes back. Lower your right knee down. I'm realizing that I totally forgot this one pose and it's so juicy and great, we're gonna come back to it. Turn your right toes to the left side of your mat. Walk your hands towards the top right corner and then just play with sinking your hips back. It's really getting into that inner left thigh. You might be feeling this even into the outer left thigh. You can always rock forward and back as well. So you're just looking for a bit of a different opening. And walk your hands all the way back through center. Let's meet into down dog. Right toes press back behind you, lift the knee, and then step your left foot back. And pedal out your hips side to side. Maybe you just bend into your knees. Okay. And then slowly lower your knees all the way towards the earth. So you're coming into variation of tabletop with knees together and toes together. For Hero's Pose, there's a couple of variations you can take, and if you have sensitive knees like me, there are still options to be in this pose without kind of bringing in any pain. Okay. So variation, you can take your toes wide and start to sit your hips back between your heels. So you want your sits bones rooted. Now this might feel a lot for your knees, so that's where you'll just take a block or a couple of blocks to sit on. And that tends to take the pressure out of the knees because your weight is on the block. Okay. From here, you're welcome to just stay upright, or you can always play with just starting to lean back into your hands. If you don't have the block, you might even come down to forearms, or some people will lay all the way back. Now, if that variation of the legs doesn't serve you, come back to tabletop and take more of a child's pose with the legs. So big toes to touch, knees wide. This one's actually called saddle. Okay, so you'll be in more of this shape. Again, you can always sit on a block between your feet, and you're welcome to just play with leaning back. But really looking to get into the quadriceps and hip flexors. So if you're doing a lot of sitting, those muscles are consistently contracted to bend the hips to that 90-degree angle. Okay, so you're just looking for a little bit of opening. Remember, just like how water carves out the earth, it doesn't have to be one huge storm. Just letting these gentle waves create change over time. Maybe even allowing your eyes to close and just bringing you down into this moment. We'll take about 8 more breaths, so we have about a minute left. See if you can allow your attention to stay with the physical body. Take your time to come out of this shape. So especially if you're on forearms, you'll just slowly press back up to hands. Okay. Slide your hands forward to lift your hips away from your heels. Now make your way onto your seat for a forward fold. So extend your legs out in front of you. And just pay attention. You might already be feeling some release into your joints and some sensations down your legs. Whenever you're ready, leading with your heart, fold belly, then heart, and then head. Optional to use any props you'd like to support the weight of your forehead, of your upper body. Notice how there's always balance offered for you. So coming out of that last pose, now you should feel almost the opposite side of the body being lengthened. May even be a feeling of relief from the body. Sometimes there's still that resistance, and that's okay. Just bringing your breath back as your ally. And gently, we'll start to walk all the way back up. Okay. Shoelace pose. So if you're, so you can take this with one leg straight. So let's start with the right knee. So you'll bend into your right knee, and you can cross your right knee over top of your left. Okay, so this sometimes is just enough to get into the right hip. If you're looking for a little bit more, walk your hands back, lean back so you can slide your left foot in, and then just heel toe your left foot over to the right side of your mat, and you'll slowly lower your knees to stack. Okay. Now I know shoelace isn't necessarily right for everybody's knees. If there's a different hip opener that you're craving, please take it. This is your practice. Okay. You can stay upright in this pose. You're welcome to hinge forward or to fold. Okay. Maybe even hear the sound of your breath once again. As you settle in, I'll tell you a story that a couple of you I know have heard, but it's always such a beautiful reminder. This idea of grace, it always reminds me of the Hindu goddess Aglandeshwari, the goddess of never not being broken. So we often cause ourselves a lot of suffering and pain because we walk through this life with this determined label of who we are. And this goddess's power is that she knows she's always these broken pieces. And so she's often depicted with her bones separate from one another. And that when she moves, the way that the light catches these little break lines of her body creates a rainbow kaleidoscope effect. A reminder that there's a lot of beauty in not being perfectly put together, but having this power to change. You have folded, you can start to make your way back up. Lean back to lift up your knees and then just untangle your legs. You can bend both knees and just windshield wiper side to side. We'll find the other side whenever you're ready. Try the same variation, but know that you can always change it up. So right leg straightens and left knee crosses. Or slide your heel in, your right heel in, and then just send it over to the left. So you can start to make your way for left knee to stack over right. And play with staying upright or folding, just finding a depth that serves you. And so this goddess, her element that she moves on is actually water. And each of the Hindu gods and goddesses each have an animal that they ride on. And hers is a crocodile. And the crocodile is meant to represent fear. So that in her brokenness, she is fearless. And it's almost like when you have nothing to lose, you don't have these labels to lose. You can be whoever. And there's no fear of disappointment. You just get a shift with each passing moment. And so she rides on this crocodile, harnessing her fear as her power, harnessing that fear of not being perfectly put together as actually what makes her so strong. And I think the reason that I love this goddess so much is because she's not your typical goddess. She allows you to be exactly as you are in that moment, knowing that it will change in the next and the next and the next. And this is grace that moves with you in each moment. Gently start to unwind, coming all the way back up through center. Float your knees away from the earth and just gently rinse out your hips, untangling your legs. Moving in towards Shavasana, so you can grab any props that you might want. We'll take a couple poses beforehand, but if you want like blankets or socks or sweaters, and you'll slowly make your way onto your back. We're going to close off with Banana Asana just to lengthen out the body a little bit. So before we fully come into that, take a couple of breaths where you just reach and lengthen with your inhale and soften as you exhale. Allowing yourself that space to reach and then to contract. Whenever you're ready, start to walk your feet to the bottom right corner of your mat. And then hands and shoulders slide over to the top right corner. Optional to cross either ankle over the other. You can cactus the arms or just float your right arm down beside your body. As long as you're feeling a lengthening through the side body, it doesn't have to be deep. Remember, you're preparing for relaxation, so taking perhaps a shape that allows you to sink in rather than fight against it. Gently bring your hands and shoulders back through center and walk your heels in as well. Bring your right knee in towards your chest. Hands interlace on top of your right shin. You can just hug your knee in nice and close towards your right armpit. And then use your left hand to guide your right knee across your body into a twist. So right arm extends out. Start to allow gravity to just gently draw you over. And always optional to use props underneath any gaps of your body in the ground. I'm just here for a couple more breaths, so see if you can really allow yourself to drop into this moment. And on your next inhale breath, you can slowly unwind, knee back through center, and then release your right foot down. And take a nice big full body stretch again. And on your own time, move feet and hands to the left corners of your mat for Asana on the other side. Notice all of the moving pieces, even in stillness. So we are never this perfectly still, put together entity. In every moment, your body is making new cells, destroying old ones, repairing damaged ones. You're always in this state of flux. Gently make your way back through center, hands and shoulders, and then feet. This time bend your left knee in towards your chest. Maybe even bring your left knee more towards the side of your rib cage. And then about 5 or 6 gentle breaths and twist. Right hand helps to gather your left knee across your body. Both shoulders stay rooted. Let your breath carry you. Gently unwind all the way back through center. And you can bring both knees into your chest. Just give yourself one final big squeeze. And when you're ready, landing in Shavasana. If you need any other poses, you're of course always welcome to just explore before you find this final pose. And then as you land in the stillness of Shavasana, you can perhaps even reflect on what has shifted even in this last hour. So physically, we've moved our bodies, but maybe some stuck thoughts have shifted and no longer hold precedence over us. Or maybe a stuck feeling. Sometimes we land on our mats and we're feeling unmotivated, exhausted. Maybe some past feelings just kind of lingering. Notice now if there's still room for those or if those have started to fade. So even sometimes beyond labels, we just get stuck in ourselves. We get stuck in something that's happened to us in the past or something we're worried about in the future. So this goddess offers us a really beautiful lesson to just move freely in the present. That it never has to be one way or the other. That it's this collection of pieces that are separate, but yet all important. So that we can still be having these feelings or thoughts, but they don't define us, they don't keep us rigid, that they're just simply a part of the puzzle. And we can always choose to discard pieces and pick new ones up. That we are never not broken, and in that brokenness, we are powerful. Leave you here in silence on my end for just a couple minutes, and I'll bring you out shortly. You're welcome to stay exactly as you are. I just want to be really cognizant of time for any of you who do have somewhere else to be. If you are ready to come out of Shavasana, you're welcome to just slowly start to move into your body and feel that freedom of movement. And allowing that movement to bring you up to a comfortable seat where you can fold your hands into heart center. If you're joining me in seated, we're going to take a slightly different mudra today. So instead of hands together, You're just going to take your hands so that your thumbs and pinkies stay together and then the other fingertips separate. So this is the half lotus mudra. And then once you've landed there, you can just close down your eyes. It's a reminder that we're a work of art. So we're halfway through blooming, but that doesn't mean that we're not perfect just as we are. That the lotus flower has a really challenging journey through the depths of the murky, the dark waters, the mud, to get to the surface. So this is your reminder, even if you don't feel like you're fully bloomed or at the surface today, you're exactly where you need to be. So much love and so much gratitude from my heart to yours. Namaste.